Portents of Fear is a horror fiction podcast which is intended for mature audiences. Discretion is advised. Welcome, Fearlings, to another weird and horrifying tale made just for you. I am your host, Michulhu, and I'll be your guide into the macabre and mysterious. Tonight's story is Girl in the Woods. Class dragged on and on. The ancient clock from the 20s rested on 5 minutes to 3. Why are schools such vortexes of time? A question asked by every student at one point or another. Beatrice tapped her pencil on the desk, watching it. Rising quickly, she caused the entire class to look at her. "Beatrice, what are you doing?" Mr. Clark asked with the exasperation only a teacher can muster. "That clock's broken, and if I have to listen to another second of how cell division works, I'm going to kill myself," she snapped. Giggles erupted. The show had begun. "We still have 30 minutes of class, and with your grades, young lady, you need every second. The final is next week. Now sit down." Glaring at the clock did nothing. It sat there mocking her. More laughter came. Freak, weirdo, angry girl, that was the vibe. It didn't matter what they thought, but really, it did. Her hands balled up into tight hammers. Mr. Clark raised a hand. The room went silent. "Beatrice, sit down. If you can't do that, then march yourself to the principal's office. Your choice." A third glare at the clock did not cause the bell to ring. Forced silence made the room quiver with white-knuckled tension. "Final warning, sit down or go to the principal's office." The decision was clear. "Fuck you, Mr. Clark," her lungs blasted. "Ooh," the class responded. She stormed out into the hallway. Mr. Clark, so taken aback, stood slack-jawed for a moment. Loud conversation followed. It had been the best show yet. The hand went up again, trembling with anger. Quiet fell over the room. "Settle down, everyone. What you just witnessed was Miss Scott signing up for detention for the next month. Now, let's get back to cell division. Empty school hallways feel like you shouldn't be in them. The ghost of every student lives there." Beatrice's locker was near the exit. Nimble fingers spun the lock with pure muscle memory. The door popped with a satisfying ka-chunk. Being free of this school, of her mother, of this town, was there any better dream? Richie Harswell walked up behind her, a hall monitor sash draped over his round body. Permanent worry was scrolled across his bespectacled face. He knew his next swirly could be at any moment. "Do you have a hall pass, Beatrice?" he asked as if his voice could trigger a bomb. She grabbed her backpack, slammed the locker door shut, and turned on him like a coiled snake. He took a step back, unconsciously raising his hands in surrender. "Get a life, blubber butt." She pushed past him towards the door. But school's not over," he called after her. Without looking back, she flashed the middle finger and left. November was almost over. The first snow was on the wind. Camdale had always been a small town, a place to get gas and move on. It felt like a trap, one she wanted to escape. Several miles to the west was this place called the Farm. A weird hippie cult lived there and grew weed. The thought of running away and joining them made her smile. It had to be better than this small town BS. Plus, she liked the devil's lettuce. It made everything better for a little while. Trees loomed 10 feet to her right. Ashwood, a pine forest bisected by the 5 freeway which stretched from Canada to Mexico, was said to be cursed. It was an old-growth forest that logging companies wouldn't touch. Too many ghosts or some such nonsense, she heard. Beatrice took a long drag of an old Marlboro she found in her bag. The lecture she knew was coming played through her mind. Her mother, a bitch by trade, only gave lip service to rules, though. Looking stern and in control was more important than actually being a parent. Mom was too busy for that. She had axes to grind. The click of the Walkman play button let David Bowie sing again. Every note made her want to live on Mars. His voice transported her to some ethereal realm. The wedding would be huge, she thought. Bowie and I would have 3 kids and travel the world. A flush of red lit up the young girl's cheeks. A police siren chirp startled her away from her nuptials. "Beatrice Scott, why are you not in school?" the officer inquired. The car crept slowly along with her. She kept walking. The pig wasn't there if she didn't look at it. The voice was unfortunately familiar. It was Officer Kalis, one of her mother's many boyfriends. Mom's got to pay the bills somehow, Beatrice guessed. "I know you can hear me, young lady. Get in the car or you'll be in a world of shit." Pivoting, she threw him a death glare. The brakes whined with a jolt. "Jesus, can't you just go eat some donuts or whatever and leave me alone?" "Watch the tone, you little," he trailed off. "Little what? Go on, say it. I know you want to say it," she growled. "Always gotta be difficult. Get in the car, I'll throw you in cuffs." "I don't get in cars with perverts, Beatrice spat, running full speed into the forest. Why, you little bitch, he yelled after her. To his dismay, the seatbelt had become a python wrapped around his torso, refusing to let him go. Beatrice focused on running, not looking back. She knew Officer Pervert wasn't fast. Too many of those aforementioned donuts. Back at the patrol car, the officer vanquished the seatbelt and pursued, but it was too late. She was gone. Peering at the closely packed trees caused his throat to tighten. Not worth it, he muttered. Grabbing the radio mic, he called in. Dispatch, this is car 5. I'm heading to the Scott place. Over. Roger. Beatrice again? Over. Yep, girl's got a temper on her. Over. Roger. She did lose her dad not long ago. Maybe cut her some slack? Over. Don't tell me how to be a cop, Richard. Over. You're just dressed like a cop. Make sure you check in. Harrison will eat you alive if you go dark again. Over. Yeah, he can eat my hairy nutsack. Over and out. He racked the handset. Rumors of the Ashwood curse never bothered Beatrice. They all sounded fake. How many people would die in one forest before they'd just cut it down, she would muse. Most of the stories had to do with Ashwood Sanitarium. Built in the 40s, it housed 150 patients. But this wasn't some mental health prison facility for the criminally insane. But facts don't matter. The stories were all the same. Crazed killer escapes on the night of a full moon and kills a bunch of people in town. She wished sometimes that one of them tried to kill her. At least that would be interesting. All these stories were just Friday the 13th repackaged, which she'd seen 3 times in the spring. It was the last horror movie her dad took her to. That made her sad. 10 minutes in, she stopped. Large, phlegmy coughs rolled up from her lungs. She doubled over and began to hack up the offending organ. Man, I'm out of shape, she thought. Once she was able to get her lungs back in her chest, she surveyed her surroundings. Officer Pervert hadn't followed, thankfully. Creep. Always looking at her boobs. Like dark magic, they seemed to appear one day in 7th grade, and man, were they a pain in the ass. Suddenly, every boy and man she passed ogled her. Men like Officer Pervert, who she knew was having sex with her mom, which made his leering grosser. It made her feel uncomfortable and dirty. You're becoming a woman now. You want men to look, especially if they have money. It means you're desirable. Just keep your legs closed and you'll be fine, her mother advised. Keep my legs closed? Maybe you should take your own advice, she thought. Closing her eyes, she took a deep breath. It was 3:30. Sunset was an hour and a half away, plenty of time to get back to the main road. All she'd have to do is walk back the same way she came. Easy. Maybe she'd sneak into the movies, kill some time before returning to her personal hell. An hour later, she stopped walking. What the actual fuck? Where's the road, she thought. Panic rippled through her brain. The entire forest looked the same, just closely packed pine trees everywhere. She yelled, "Help!" at an ear-splitting volume. The sound echoed off the trees, fading quickly. Then she saw it, a black deer 50 yards away looking at her through the trees. It was her first time seeing a black deer. It didn't seem frightened by her. Moving forward, she raised her hands. Snow White and all her animal friends played in the back of her mind. Maybe she could touch it like a goat at a petting zoo. As she drew closer, it lifted a very human arm from the ground and placed its hand on a tree. Air from her lungs hitched at her tonsils. It wasn't a deer at all. Its black skin shimmered with stars. Moons the size of softballs looked back at her from a buck's head with onyx antlers. She stopped. It unfolded to 9 feet tall. Beatrice was only 5'5". Terror locked her legs in place. The creature was blocking out the last rays of sunlight, its shadow casting her into darkness. It stepped forward with hooves as large as her head. As it bent down, moonlight from its eyes lit up her face. Unnaturally long arms stretched out towards her. This was enough to force her brain to reboot, and she took off screaming. The theory Mary had was that if she stared at the front door long enough, her ungrateful child would arrive home. So far, this theory was a bust. What's taking that girl? I swear to God, she's turning me gray. She needs to be straightened out, Mary declared. The ash on her cigarette was impossibly long and fell under its own weight, missing the ashtray by a foot. She didn't notice. Well, I'm not going to say I disagree. I wanted to smack her today, Officer Kalis replied. Really? You want to rough her up? You should. Rough her up good. That's what she needs. Fred always let her off the hook too easy, she stated. I'm not her dad. No, that's what I like about you. You're better in every way. He smiled. How about I rough you up, Mrs. Scott? Yes, she purred. The clock said 5, closing time for the bank, but it was also a Friday, which meant a line of people were waiting to deposit their checks and take money out for the weekend. There was nothing worse than getting stuck on a Saturday without enough cash on hand. A shotgun slug blasted into the ceiling. A communal screech of fright escaped them all. "Everyone on the ground, this is a robbery," Todd yelled from behind his ski mask. Everyone but Gus, the security guard, hit the deck. Gus had been chatting up Ava, the new teller, with the aim of getting her number and was caught flat-footed. The subsequent adrenaline spike caused him to fumble for his gun. Right as he pulled it from its holster, another slug fired, punched through his sternum, and sent him flying into the wall. Blood spurted from the gaping wound. "Anyone else want to do something stupid?" Noah asked. He'd never killed anyone before, but the crank made it fun. The two men had known each other, drinking at the dive bar from time to time. Noah wasn't going to feel bad for him, though. Gus shouldn't have gone for his gun. His death was on him. Todd hadn't been ready for the blast. His left ear rang. Scanning the tellers, he picked the hot girl next to Gus's corpse. "You, big tits, put everything in this," Todd commanded, throwing a large bag in Ava's direction. The bag landed in her hand. Her eyes fell on Gus. He'd seemed nice, but not her type. Todd closed the distance, pointing a gun at her. "Are you just pretty, or is there a brain in that head? Start collecting the money," Todd ordered. Nodding that she understood, she carefully opened her own drawer and began filling the bag. When Todd looked away, she pushed the silent alarm button under the counter. Noah grabbed Jerry, the bank manager, and dragged him to the vault. He pressed the gun into Jerry's back. "Open it," Noah snarled. Jerry's arthritic hands started to work the large dial when the first sound of police sirens could be heard. "God damn it! How did they know so fast?" Todd asked. "Did you set off the silent alarm, you old fart?" Noah yelled at the manager. But before Jerry could respond, Noah unloaded his shotgun straight into the man's back. The bullet exploded through Jerry's spine and heart. The softball-sized exit wound splattered blood against the vault door. Everyone screamed again. "He hit the silent alarm! We gotta go!" Noah yelled. Todd took the bag of cash and pointed his gun at Ava. "All right, big tits, you're coming with us." His voice oozed lecherous intent. Nodding yes, Ava raised her hands and came out from behind the counter. The first police car arrived as the three walked through the front door, Ava in front. Todd pushed her to the side and fired, taking out the lead car's front windshield. Glass flew everywhere, but the officers inside weren't hit. They quickly scrambled out of the car, hunkering down behind it. 2 more police cruisers arrived a moment later. Ava, seeing an opportunity, slipped out of her high heels and ran. Noah caught the movement and fired at her, but she slid around the corner right into Captain Harrison. She stifled a scream. I hit the silent alarm, and they thought Jerry did it, so they shot him," she stammered. "It's okay. You did the right thing. How many are there?" 2, she replied. "You're safe now, kid. Go to Patty's and tell them to lock the door until we give the all clear, all right?" He pointed at the diner where several customers were gawking through the window. "And tell them to stay away from the windows?" "Yes, Captain Harrison, thanks," she attempted a smile. "You're welcome. Get going." She ran towards Patty's. Harrison peeked around the corner. He had a clear line of sight on the 2 robbers. They had ducked behind a car. They were pinned down, but so were his officers. He counted 3 cars and knew instantly who wasn't there. "Dispatch, where the hell is Officer Kalis? Over," he whispered into his radio. "No clue. I've been trying to raise him for a while now. He's not responding. Last time he checked in was over an hour ago. Said he was headed to Mary Scott's place. Over." "Jesus Christ," Harrison muttered. "Call over to Mary's place and tell that SOB to get his ass here. Over." "Roger, Captain. Over and out." The moonlight was doing little to help Beatrice see. Her hands felt like blocks of ice. Someone had to be looking for her by now, right? But then she remembered what kind of person her mother was. Nope, Mom wouldn't be looking for her at all. In the fading light was a silhouette of a large tree with an indention at the base. The pine needles made a soft bed, so she curled up like a ball there. Her dad had always promised to take her camping, but never got around to it. Maybe if he had, she'd know what to do. Tears coated her eyes. Beatrice had mixed feelings about her dad. She was still angry he died and left her. Plus, when he was around, her mom didn't act all psycho. That was nice. The forest felt alive. A light breeze played between the trees. An owl call sounded every few seconds, and the bugs sang. Luckily, though, the creature hadn't followed her, as far as she could tell. What was it? The farm, those hippies to the west, worshipped some strange god. At least that's what the rumor around town was. Could it be their god? She didn't know. If it was, why would it be so far from its worshippers? Then again, it seemed all gods were far away. Though afraid, she started to fall asleep. The temperature dropped, zapping her strength and biting at her flesh. Pulling her knees into her chest, she wondered if she was going to die out here. Sleep fell over her. Waiting not far away, the creature silently stepped forward. Against the black sky, his skin disappeared. The stars he carried matched the stars in the heavens. Extending his hand, the creature touched the young girl's cheek, then withdrew. Energy blossomed from this point and worked its way through her body. Standing, she faced the North Star, eyes glowing with moonlight, no longer cold, no longer completely on Earth. The smell of menthol cigarettes hung over the bed. Neither Officer Kalis nor Mary knew what time it was. They were too busy enjoying the afterglow of middle-aged sex. "She's not back yet. Think we ought to go looking?" Kalis finally asked. Putting out her cigarette and a soda can, Mary shifted towards him, placing her arm across his chest. She had red marks all over her body. The beating had been fun, but when the choking started, she thought he might kill her. Luckily, he finished before she passed out. No, that call was probably her saying she was going to the movies or some such nonsense. That girl drives me nuts. If I'd done half the shit she does, my parents would have killed me. "Now, is my captain ready to interrogate me again?" she replied. She slid her hand under the sheet and purred. "Nah, I'm on duty, remember? I need to check in before that asshole Harrison comes looking for me. I tell you what, though, I'll come back after work if you like." "I would," she smiled. The marks around her throat would bruise, he thought. He smiled back. With a grunt, he pushed up off the bed and grabbed his pants. Mary went to the bathroom to survey the damage. Kalis noticed that after sex, the light was never kind to her. Every bad decision came to the surface of her sagging skin. He shuddered. She glanced back and thought almost the same thing. But you get your sex where you find it, she thought. The bathroom door shut. "I'm leaving some money on the table for you," he called to her. "I'm not a hooker," she yelled. "You're whatever I say you are," he called back. She started cursing, but he didn't listen. He just smiled as he headed out into the night. She'd be angry when he returned, and sex was always better when she fought back. The night air was cold, and Officer Kalis immediately missed the warm bed he'd just left. Leaning on his patrol car with a mocking grin was Captain Harrison, his arms crossed. "You are the worst police officer I have ever worked with," Harrison stated. "Even worse than Dan Gunther?" Kalis inquired. Dan was often drunk on duty. One time, he tried to arrest a black bear for trespassing in town, something that happens all the time when you live next to a huge forest. He was hospitalized for a month. "No, you're right. No one's that bad. But Dan is retired, so you're the worst I'm working with right now. By the way, the Davis brothers tried to rob the bank. We've been calling you. Hell, even rang Mary's phone, but I'm guessing you were busy?" "Yeah, I was taking her statement. Her daughter was disrespectful to me when I found her leaving school early. We were waiting for her to get home and got distracted. You should know, Sarah got winged in the shoulder by Noah, who's now lying in the morgue. His idiot brother Todd took off into the forest. I think I hit him. We're waiting for the helicopter from Portland to start searching." Officer Kalis's face contorted. "What?" Harrison asked. Earlier, I tried to get Beatrice in my car to take her home. She had left school before the bell. Instead of getting in, though, she ran into the woods. I followed, but I couldn't find her. That's why I'm here. I thought she'd be home by now. Mary is really worried." "Are you telling me there's a 14-year-old girl by herself in the woods and you didn't call it in 2 hours ago? If Todd finds her..." "God damn it, Kalis. We just thought she went to the movies," he said nervously. "Hear me. If anything happens to that girl, I'll make sure you and that train wreck of a mother go to prison. Give me your gun and badge." No, wait, that's not fair. At least let me try and find her." "Gun and badge, you're done here." Blood bubbled through Todd's fingers on his side. The gun was in his other hand, its weight becoming harder to carry. Tears blurred his vision. The crank had worn off and put his teeth on edge. He kept seeing Noah shot in the throat, staring up at him like a carp, his mouth opening and closing, trying to breathe. His own mouth was dry and pasty. The trees closed around him. It felt like a prison. He'd already done time in New Mexico. He wouldn't go back. He couldn't. Ahead, he thought he saw a figure. Moving closer, he saw Beatrice, her eyes glowing with pale moonlight. She stared into the sky. "Girl, what are you doing out here?" No response. Raising the gun with considerable effort, he placed the butt deep in his armpit so he could keep the other hand on the wound. "Get your hands up. We're taking a walk." She turned her head to look at him, unblinking. A ghostly light from her eyes illuminated his pale face. Squinting, he moved closer. She was wearing blue jeans, a black and red striped shirt, and a jean jacket. Her mousy brown hair fell down around her shoulders, framing a young face. He couldn't look too closely at that face. The light was blinding. A foot away, he reached out to touch her. She seemed like a mannequin to him, even though she moved. Striking out like a cobra, she grabbed his arm. Startled, he dropped the gun. It fired as it hit the ground. There was a sickening crunch as she squeezed. Before he could respond, roots from the forest floor jammed through his boots and into the soles of his feet. His skin ripped open as thick vines forced their way up through his legs. At his crotch, the two vines merged and shot up into his colon, causing it to burst out of his torso. Branches erupted in every direction, two coming out of his eyes and one from his still screaming mouth. Todd didn't die immediately, but he could feel his organs on the outside of his body, hanging from the tree that had just grown up through him. Tears of blood streamed over his warped face. He could see his lungs still filling with air. Then they stopped, and finally, he was dead. Beatrice was in several places at the moment Todd died. In front of her was a changed world. Colors, some human, some not, cascaded from the trees. Their bark was covered in human skin of all different hues. Some even had tattoos. She thought she could hear them crying, but really it was Todd a galaxy away becoming a pine tree shish kebab. The branches of sharp, angular onyx protruding from these human trees were studded with silver pine needles. They looked like they could easily shred flesh. Above her, the sky was awash with unfamiliar stars and a sapphire moon. The sweet aroma of pine, accented by the reek of decay, filled her nostrils. Stepping forward into this dreamland, she felt the ground give a little. It was no longer covered in pine needles. Instead, it was soft black dirt. To her, it looked like mounds of crumbled chocolate cake. Something clicked in her brain as she sunk her hands into the warm earth and she became feral. Beatrice's mouth widened till her jaw popped and she began to shovel hot mounds of dirt in, filling her stomach with the primordial mother. This energy of Gaia filled her, stretching her stomach as if she was heavy with child. The earth spoke to her with a low voice, too low for mortals to hear it, but she changed. With eyes closed, she fell back, hitting the black dirt and crashing through it into open sky. Below her, the forest approached rapidly. Screaming, she spread her arms wide. Her bones shifted and cracked as they turned into giant wings with black feathers. Her body transfigured into that of a crow. She glided down to a tree, perching on its onyx branch. She cawed, and then she noticed him, the deer god. He looked to her with moon-filled eyes and put out an arm. Beatrice instinctively landed on it. As soon as she did, she found herself sinking into the inky black of his cosmic skin. Her mind stretched and bent as her body shifted back into a teenager. She hadn't noticed that she was orbiting a star. Its rays hit her bloated stomach, which, in turn, ruptured, causing the dirt from within to engulf her. This dirt became our Earth, forming in an instant, the crust covered with lava. Aware of everything that was transpiring, she floated in the planet's molten core, her brain on the edge of insanity. 4.5 billion years raced past and she saw it all. Every horrible thing mankind ever did. Everything her mother and Officer Kalis did to her dad. It broke her heart. The whole town heeded the call to look for Beatrice. A search party of 75 people and Jenlin's 3 bloodhounds stood on the spot where Beatrice was last seen. The police helicopter from Portland flew over Ashwood. The hope was that the forest was large enough that Todd wouldn't bump into Beatrice. Mary stood near Captain Harrison, weeping and looking distraught. Before the captain spoke, he gave her a hard look. "All right, everyone, listen. Beatrice Scott has been missing for several hours now. She ran into the forest right here, so that's where we're going to start. Something else you should know. Todd Davis also ran into the woods after getting shot trying to hold up the bank. That was almost 2 hours ago. My hope is that they didn't run into each other. He's armed and dangerous, but we can't wait any longer for the Portland PD to get people here. Everyone who doesn't have a gun should be within a few feet of someone that does. Ashwood is a large forest, which means Beatrice could be anywhere. I want you all to be within 20 feet of each other. You've all been given whistles. If you find anything, use it to alert us. There'll be an officer every 5th person. We'll be working our way towards Ashwood Sanitarium. They've been alerted to the situation and are on lockdown. Beatrice is 14 years old. It's very cold out, and she could be hurt. Let's find her," Harrison yelled. The people began to spread out. The bloodhounds smelled a sample of her clothing and dashed into the forest, pulling Jenlin behind them. Mary Scott watched the searchers fade into the forest while still standing at the road. "Mary, why aren't you in line?" Harrison barked. "I feel like she's already dead. I killed her. I killed my little girl. I just can't go in there." The tears flowed like a river as she blew her nose. "You're so full of shit. You don't care about anyone but yourself." Mary flashed red hot. Her entire face boiled with rage. "I care about Beatrice. I do the best I can, but she doesn't make it easy. It's not my fault Fred died. Why does she have to take it out on me? I support her, feed her, and all I get back is disrespect," Mary snapped. A fresh cigarette appeared in her right hand, lighter in the left. Harrison snatched it from her. "Fred was a good man, and I know you had a part in his death. One day I'll prove it." Now get your ass out in the woods and help find your daughter, Harrison growled. Mary recoiled, then ran to catch up with the others. Officer Fred Scott died October 13, 1980. He reported a gray Ford Galaxy with no plates swerving on Anchor Street in the industrial park. After 5 p.m., that area became a ghost town. Fred would drive through twice a night just to make sure teenagers weren't drag racing out there. He told dispatch he was going to pull the car over. 5 minutes later, his man down alarm went off. Harrison sent the entire force to help, but all they found was his body sprawled out in the street. A gunshot had split his head in two. There wasn't a lot to go on. They had the make of the car, its color, the tire tracks, and that was it. No shell casing, no security cam video, nothing. Harrison put up a $10,000 reward for any information that led to an arrest, but all they got was a flood of crackpot calls for 6 weeks. It was an open secret that Officer Kalis and Mary had been sleeping together for a while. This was motive. Unhappy wife and a new lover want the husband out of the way? It made sense. Harrison's gut said the two of them were in on it. They knew where he would be and how to avoid cameras. Disposing of the car wouldn't be hard. There are back roads everywhere, but these theories weren't evidence. His gut couldn't take the stand, so the case went cold. The sound of dogs barking jarred Beatrice awake. Standing an inch away from her face was the tree that had grown up through Todd, his flesh and skin still hanging from it. A gut-churning wail of terror alerted the entire search party to move faster. She scrambled backwards and took off running. Not being able to see anything, her foot hooked on a root and she flew forward, landing hard. Gurgling up from the pit of her stomach was a large mass. It splattered onto the ground. She flicked her lighter on and saw that the mass was a large clump of black dirt. Her vision went from blurry to black. Harrison watched through the glass window as Mary tried to get Beatrice to respond. The girl hadn't said a word since they found her and, well, Todd. How? Why? The questions about that mystery felt better off unanswered. Knowing wouldn't help keep the crime scene out of his mind. No one deserves to die that way, whatever way that was. Not even Todd Davis. Harrison was grateful they found Beatrice alive. It was a miracle. The dogs found her and used their bodies to keep her warm. It was the damnedest thing he'd ever seen. Somehow, being only 15 yards from Todd, she had no marks on her. The next day, Beatrice woke up but wouldn't talk. She just sat there looking straight ahead. She didn't even eat for 3 days. When anyone tried to touch her, she started to scream. They did a CT scan. Her brain was normal. The doctors decided it was PTSD. Seeing Todd that way more than likely sent her over the edge, a horrible shock to the system that left her unable to talk. With time, they hoped she would get better. Then they washed their hands of it. Again, the vision of the tree and Todd's flesh flashed through Harrison's mind. It made him think of some old-world pagan sacrifice. That day, Mary was taking her home, a fact that didn't make her happy. She threatened to sue the hospital for giving up on her daughter, but she didn't have a leg to stand on. Harrison wanted to make sure the transition home went smoothly. Kalis had left town for good, so there was a silver lining to all this. The captain's working hypothesis was that Todd was attacked by someone in the woods and that Beatrice found him. It's the only thing that made sense. Suddenly, Beatrice lunged at Mary, knocking her off the bed and causing her head to thwack against the floor. Mary, dazed, put her hands up, trying to block the incoming blows. Blood gushed from the back of her head. Harrison moved quickly into the room, grabbing Beatrice and pulling her off her mother. The blood formed a crimson halo behind Mary's head. "You little bitch! I'm going—" "Shut up, Mary. We need a doctor in here," he yelled. It was taking all his strength to keep Beatrice pinned to the bed. "I know what you did, Mother! I flew! I was a crow. I became earth. I floated with the god of the wood as one of his children. I saw what you did at the end of my journey. I saw what you fucking did!" Nurse Temmick greeted Harrison and Beatrice in the lobby of Ashwood Sanatorium. Her clipboard in hand, she smiled wide. Harrison smiled back, rolling Beatrice's wheelchair in. The girl was laced up in a straitjacket. She whispered things humans shouldn't know under her breath. "Captain Harrison, so nice to see you. And this must be Beatrice?" "It's good to see you too, Nurse Temmick. How are things?" "Oh, good. We're working each day to help these poor souls get back to normal. Beatrice, would you like to be normal again?" Beatrice looked at her with baleful eyes. For a moment, the elderly nurse got a flash of the antler creature. She stepped back, almost fainting. "Are you okay?" Yes. Sorry, sudden headache," she lied. She knew who the antler god was. "I guess I'm just getting old. Don't worry, Captain. I know just what Beatrice needs," she smiled. Nurse Temmick seems like a great person to leave Beatrice with. No red flags there at all. Would you like another story about Ashwood? Be sure to tell us in the comments. Since you're still here, take a moment to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a single terrifying story. Want more horrific stories? Click on one of our other episodes on your screen now. Good night, Fearlings. Sleep well, if you can. You all right, Ava? He asked. I hit the silent alarm and they thought Jerry did it, so they shot him, she stammered. I stammered. Let's try that again. They shot him. She stammered. There was like this big pause.